Hey love bugs, Dr. Ashley Greer here from ashleygreer.com. That's ASHLEEGREER. Today I am talking to you about the balance of surrender and action. This is a problem that I see with so many entrepreneurs out there, that there is a lack of balance. Either people are on one end of the stick or the other end of the stick. They're either all action and all push, 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 go, 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 do, 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 or they're all surrender and just pulling in and waiting for things to be right and waiting for things to be perfect. So the question becomes, how on earth do you find a balance between action and surrender? And this is actually one of these keys to manifestation I talk about in my course, Vibrational Alignment, Manifesting Magic. It's really about connecting with what feels good. I know that's so freaking simple and so basic and so easy that I found this again and again. I found this with a lot of my own clients as well, that connecting with what feels good is about when we are forcing, when we are in that push, when we're in that action mode and we're like, I have to do this, and we're operating from a menu of shoulds, these shoulds that say, like, this is the way it has to get done, and this is the way, I have to get it done today, and I have to, let's say you're not necessarily on a deadline, you're getting something to a client, but you're just, I have to get this new package worked out today. And when you're in that mode of, I have to do it this way and I have to do it now, what happens is we often skip over and we basically ignore our own internal guidance. We ignore our connection to source. We ignore our intuition. We ignore our own nudges that really want to guide us down this beautifully, marked path. And instead what we do is we basically just shove the, the round peg through the square hole because we think it should fit in there and it should fit today, gersh darn it. And so we push, 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 shove, shove, shove. And that's just not in our best interests. You'll find that a lot of times when we are in this push, 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 shove, shove, shove mode, and we're like, I've got to do it today, otherwise I'm a lazy SOB, and you're beating up on yourself. This is when resistance is gonna rear its ugly little head, and you're gonna feel all this pushback, and you're gonna feel all of this sense of like, I don't want to do this now. This doesn't feel right. Yada yada yada. And this happens because you are not in alignment with your highest good. You're not in alignment with your highest self. Because when you are in that push, 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 force, force, force mode, you are usually operating from a place of lack, from a place of I have to or I will never, from a place of I don't have enough, so I've got to go out there and do this because otherwise, worry, 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 doubt, 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 fear, fear, fear. And so that's what happens often when we're in the push, 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 shove, shove, shove mode. But it can interestingly happen when we're on the opposite side of the pendulum as well. When we're on the side of the pendulum that's all about, well, I'm going to wait until the stars are perfectly aligned. I'm going to wait until everything feels, super perfect. I'm going to wait until I'm always super joyful. I'm going to wait. As we know, this can turn into analysis paralysis. Well, I guess it's possibly not analysis, but that's a term we use in psychology. Analysis paralysis, when we think about things so much that we basically don't go out there and do something. Hey Tanuja, great to see you. We don't go out there and do something. We don't go out there and do the things that we know we need to do. So for example, when you're sitting there and you're saying, I have to wait until I'm totally aligned, until I'm totally in joy to post on Facebook, and then you never ever post because you're not feeling ever totally aligned, what you're doing is you're actually falling prey to a different kind of resistance called perfectionism. Because what you can actually do is you can actually cultivate that joy and you can actually cultivate that alignment through different practices, doing whatever you need to do in order to get into that juicy, bodacious place where your words just flow, the connection is just immediately there, and your people can totally feel you, mind, heart, body, and soul, and you no longer have to feel as though you have to wait, because it truly is a balance, and it becomes very, very confusing for people when it's like, well, no, you can't be in force and action all the time, even though I'm like always saying, like, just go out there and do something, because doing things can actually truly be motivating. And you can't be there in all think and withdraw and pull in place all the time either, because when you're in that place, you're always going to be waiting for it to be perfect situation, perfect inspiration, etc., before you take action. And as we know, none of that stuff is ever perfect. We actually build that stuff through taking action. And this is why we have to, in all things, find the balance between the two. And you may not even think about this, but this is truly about the balance between the masculine and the feminine parts of ourselves. That the feminine is usually about this inspiration, about this connection with source, about this, this juicy, inspired by the muses kind of feeling. Whereas the masculine is very much about strategy and about taking action and about taking life by the horns and doing. And when we're operating from either one of these things, we are fundamentally unbalanced, and it's not going to work out right. And so we truly have to find the middle ground. This is so much of what my work is about, is helping people find balance between any of the two extremes. This is actually one of the theories that I used to operate from when I was a psychologist, was personal construct theory. I bet you've never heard of that before. The idea behind personal construct theory is that we have two opposing poles in our definition of things, and understanding the different poles, the different dynamics of the different ends of what we identify. So for example, maybe the opposite end of the pole for me of push is relax. But you can't really totally relax all the time in your business, otherwise you're never doing anything. And so either end of those poles is not good, and so we have to find sort of the middle of each pole, but we have to understand what's on both sides. I know it sounds really complicated, but trust me, it's a really fabulous theory. I put it into the structure of my dissertation and everything. Point being is we need to find harmony, we need to find balance in all things, whether it is action and, you know, really feeling that connection, whether it is I think my cats are running around inside. Whether it is feeling, you know, the balance of the masculine and the feminine, whether it's feeling the balance in our work. A lot of times I often see entrepreneurs feeling unbalanced in their work as well, and they bring these notions not only to the way that they show up, but the way that they do their work with clients. And so they actually feel like they have to either be the person who pushes or be the person who's always just holding space and nurturing, instead of realizing that it's the flow between the two, which is where the magic is at. There's always a flow. You know, even with, like, you know, needing to pull internally and integrate, and then going out and really being able to show ourselves and shine in the world. There's always a flow and there's always a balance. And when we find that balance, we truly find the magic in our life and business. And that's when we're stepping into our divine power. That balance and that harmony of polarity, which I talked about last week, I think, or earlier this week, is truly one of the keys to living your life from this place of divine power, is when you can find that harmony and you're no longer going to either extreme. And it's funny, I'm talking about this in June during my Gemini birthdays. I love me some Geminis. But Geminis actually have this propensity, perhaps sometimes more than other signs, that they tend to swing on the pendulum from one extreme to the next. It's sort of that twin energy, you know, the different energies. It's like there's two faces to a coin, whereas they never think about the coin sitting on its edge. Tanuja says, I'm an action taker, overly most times, and find it hard to step back. And I bet you that you're not actually feeling that complete, utter inspiration and utter, you know, connection, and that juicy sense of like, this is what my people need. This is what my people need to hear. Like, I know now, like, in my soul, that this is the right thing to say. This is the right thing to do. This program is beautiful. Like, how connected are you feeling to your intuition, Tanuja? Oftentimes when we are, you know, just overly in that action place, and this is really, really common for high achieving women, particularly because we are used to going out there and solving problems and making it happen, getting it done, is we get disconnected from our intuition and we fall into overthinking. We fall into over problem solving. I've been talking about this a lot with people lately, about how a lot of times what happens is when we are high achieving women particularly, and we're used to being an awesome problem solver, when there's not a problem, we can actually often look for problems, because that is the way our brain works, that there's always a problem. You'll find this when you get really content or really happy, and suddenly you find things to worry about that you're like, well, what if that stove's probably going to die in like the next year, and where are we going to come up with that money, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why am I even worried about that? Oh, I'm worrying about that because my mind is set to problem solving mode, and I don't know how to turn it the frick off. And when I turn it off, then I'm able to really connect to that sense of peace and that sense of clarity and that sense of inspiration and that sense of connection. Caitlin says, I want to take action, but don't know where to start. Haha, like overthinking. Exactly. If you don't know where to start, I talked about this earlier, that so much of it is about feeling really good and I talk a lot about feeling in flow, feeling the jam, feeling like you're jamming things. And I don't mean like jamming things through. I mean like, like when you're dancing. We're jamming, if you feel like you are working on you want to do something, but it's not clear what the step is, that's a clear indication that action time is not now, and that it is time to actually surrender. The sense of surrender is not about, I'm going to wait and still worry about it. Or I'm going to sit back and, right? Tanuja, I totally understand that feeling like it's boring if there's no problem, because our minds are set to problem solving mode, and that's probably where we've succeeded a lot in our life. And so we tend to find problems and make problems for real. But back to what Caitlin was saying, this overthinking and this sense of surrender from the action, it's really this sense of, I need to allow this inspiration. I need to allow this sense of connection. I need to allow this space of the manifestation to take place in my life. So something that as Abraham Hicks talks about this is that you can't be in the mode of receiving if you are in the mode of asking. And often when we're going, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? God, what is the answer? Why can't I come up with the answer? And we're in that problem solving, overthinking mode. We are mosquitoes. We're not mosquitoes, but this is on the side. When we're in that problem overthinking mode and we're in what's the answer, we're not in the mode of receiving. Because think about it, we're projecting forward, problem, problem, problem. And when we're in the mode of problems, we're going to find more problems. We're not going to really find solutions. We have to surrender and just stop. Stop with all the problem generation, because that's really what's going on a lot of times, is people are looking for more problems, and they're probably not even seeing the ones that actually are there accurately, because we come to the ones that are easier for us to deal with, like, you know, like maybe I need to stop eating sugar, because that's what I do for a living, is help people stop eating sugar, and that's the problem, that's the problem, that's the problem. But why, what else? And maybe it's just not feeling this sense of surrender. So really, you know, you have to allow yourself to receive. You have to allow yourself to allow. And in order to, you know, you have to really surrender to the process in order for this beautiful, juicy inspiration to come through that's not about force. Because here's the truth, the blunt-ass truth, is that inspiration doesn't come from force. Yes, you can take action from a place of lack of inspiration, and it can flow through you. Like, I'm thinking of a writer. When you're a writer, you need to become a professional and sit down at the keyboard and write every single day. Even as an entrepreneur, you know, you're out there and you're posting on Facebook, you need to sit down and do it every single day and create yourself a practice, a professional practice of what you're trying to accomplish. But that doesn't mean that inspiration is always going to be there and your writing is always going to be stupendous and awesome. I write for an hour every single day, and half the crap I write is like, you know, I'm not going to share that with you guys. That's just me working through all the noise. And then suddenly, once the noise is sort of clear, then all of this stuff just goes whoosh, and the inspiration comes through. But I can't sit there and go, be inspired, be inspired. Come on, Ash, be inspired. It doesn't work that way. And when I do that, I am like, it's like, I was doing a reading with a beautiful friend yesterday, and she was telling me that sometimes it's like, you know, when you're running towards to go pick up a stone and you kick it instead of being able to go pick it up because you're in such a rush to go get it that you're not even noticing that you're kicking it ahead of you and making it unreachable just by your impatience to get it now. And this is when we need to really sit back in the sense of surrender and in the sense of best live stream ever, this sense of surrender and this sense of like, now I can allow myself to relax, and actually relaxing and surrendering and perhaps going out and doing something silly or something joyful is working, because it actually allows me the space to allow inspiration to come forth. Have you ever noticed how a lot of times inspiration comes when you are in the shower, or when you're out on a walk, or when you're doing something that isn't about work? This is exactly what I'm talking about, because we're not in that force, push mode anymore. Instead, we're in that zone of allowing, because we're, you know, it's that's an interesting image in my head. It's the difference of like trying to climb up a water slide with like a bunch of water getting jutted down it and being like, no, I'm getting to the top, and saying there's got to be a way to get to the top, and kind of walking around the water park, and eventually you find a stairwell, and it's really easy to get up there. Instead of like trying to climb up the water slide against the water, you know, we really do end up kind of fighting ourselves sometimes instead of feeling into this sense of surrender and this sense of it's okay sometimes to take a step back, to go for a walk, to enjoy our lives, because from the juice of our lives truly comes the magic of our lives. All right, I have probably babbled on here long enough. I think this is perhaps one of my longer live streams too, Tanuja. But I appreciate the feedback. Best live stream ever. And I suppose, you know, Hawaii never hurts either. But if you're just joining, catch the video from the beginning. We talked a lot about the balance between the pendulum swing from overthinking and analysis and action and inspiration and surrender and allowing and receiving, and how that balance is when we can find the middle ground. That's when the magic happens. All right, my loves, I will see you all soon. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. And I still have a couple spots left in the Summer of Power Mastermind. And someone on here, it's calling you. I can feel it that somebody watching this video, it is calling you. Shoot me a message. This is the least expensive way to work with me right now. And I totally want one of you guys, I don't know why, I feel like somebody on this video, perhaps right now, perhaps on the replay, is going to join this group, because it's really going to blow the lid off of your business and your life and make it all juicy and bodacious and powerful, and sense that divine power that is the balance between force and flow, because it's neither one is, well, really, flow is in the middle, if I'm honest. Flow isn't when we're just perfectly in that inspiration place, because we still need to sit down at our keyboard and write, or sit with somebody and talk to people. So flow is really the middle ground. And so is divine power. So it's become bestest because of Hawaii in the background. Even with the mosquitoes, yes, you guys aren't getting bit by the mosquitoes. The mosquitoes are nuts. They bite all day. Like, it's like 9 a.m. or something, and I probably have about 8 bites on my leg right now because I'm wearing a dress. Anyway, Summer of Power, Mastermind, it's ridiculous, affordable way to work with me. The most affordable way to work with me, unless you want to join my Abundance Alchemy monthly membership group, which is also an amazing way to work with me, and you get psychic guidance, and you get group processing calls and all sorts of juiciness over there too. Or if you'd like to hop on a call and see if working with me one-on-one would be your jam, I would adore that as well. I love getting to know people who really are moved by my work, and even if you're not called to work with me, that's cool. It's all about just knowing if we're like the perfect fit. I don't believe in force when it comes to sales either. It's a totally different way of operating business. It's all about the balance, loves. All right. Till next time, have a fabulous weekend. Bye.